What's up, YouTube? I am starting my adventure today. I am headed up to Delaware to play on some $10 tables. I played at Maryland Live 2 days ago and lost maybe about $600, another $600 from the other day. Got on a slot machine and won it all back. No luck, but I did the right thing this time. I actually walked away. So I am going to try my luck at Harrington's in Delaware. So we'll see. I'm feeling lucky. It's a little windy out here. I hope you guys can hear me, but I took a moment to, I guess, stop and have breakfast, lunch, brunch. I don't know, it's 11:20, and I didn't have breakfast this morning. I went for a walk, had a cup of almond milk, and that was about it. So I took a moment to stop to eat, because you guys know when you're headed towards the table, the whole day can go by and you never even realize where the time went. Sometimes you don't even stop to eat. So I'm gonna stop and eat, take a moment to eat, catching a little bit of the fresh air. I'm standing under this beautiful tree. They have $10 tables. The tables opened up at 10 o'clock, and it's been a really long time since I played on a $10 table, but I'm anxious and excited to see what I can do. I think my strategy is going to be maybe I'm going to try out the 5 and 9 strategy. 5 and 9, get 2 hits, and try to get across the board. That is actually, well, that's not the cheapest bet, the cheapest strategy, but most of the time you play, you want to have at least 2 numbers. So I'm gonna either a 5 and 9 or a 5 and 6, and then try to get across the board. So you get 2 numbers, get 2 hits, and then start spreading your wings. At least with 2 hits, you get your money back and you make $8. This is the morning after my visit to Harrington. So a couple of things. One, I thought that the tables had the all tall and small bonus. I was incorrect. I haven't played at Harrah's in probably 2 years. Not since the pandemic. And so going in, I'm thinking all tall and small. I get to the table, they have the fire bet, which is cheaper, but not as easy to come by. So with the all tall and small bonus, you just need a shooter to roll 5 numbers. 5 numbers will get you $150. On the fire bet, the shooter has to make at least 4 separate points. That means 4 of 6 numbers, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. The shooter has to make 4 of the 6 place bet numbers as a point. and there just wasn't any good shooters at the table, really. There was one guy who was shooting fairly well. When I got to the table, there were 3 people already at the table. The spot that I like to shoot from was open, so I walked right up. He was shooting, so I waited for the dice to go out before I cash in. Just common courtesy. I cashed in for $166. That was the odd money I had. So I cashed in and I ran that up to $700. Well, the $500 being the profit. I should have walked away from the table, but I didn't. The table was $10, which was good, and they never changed. They never raised it or anything like that. So that was pretty good as well. I had, the first couple of times I rolled the dice, I didn't have a good shot. Maybe 1 point and then out. One time I bucked a point, the next point, and then 7. Probably my 4th roll, I rolled for maybe about 30 minutes, was the best roll on the table. I didn't hit a fire. I did hit maybe 4 points, but one of the points was a repeater, so that sucked. I think my point was a 10, a 9, 2 9s, and a 4. Which would have been really nice, to be left with the 6 and 8 to hit all 6 numbers, but that wasn't the case. So I walked in and basically did my 5 and 9 strategy that I talked about. I stayed really focused. The only thing was that if the point was a 9 or 5, I had to try to figure out, okay, what numbers am I going to play? As I mentioned, you always want to have at least 2 numbers, especially on a $10 table. It's not that expensive. So to be honest, you could probably play a $10 table like you can a quarter table, except, you get 3 numbers inside. And it'll cost you either $32 or $34, which isn't bad at all. On a $15 table, 2 numbers will cost you $33 or $30, depending on what you're playing. So I walked in. A 5 and 9 strategy worked really, really well. I started out 5 and 9, and I kind of maintained that throughout the entire game. Occasionally, the shooter would have a point of a 9 or a 5, and so I would either, if the point was a 5, then I generally went 8 and 9. If the point was a 9, then I basically played the 5 and 6. Every now and again, because remember, it's all about energy, so I'm still watching the table. I'm watching how people are rolling. I'm watching how, the energy of everybody. I'm looking to see what number is the most rolled number on the table, which was a 9. It just so happens that 9 was the most rolled number last night. And I am also watching to see what numbers aren't showing up, because if you go several rolls and nobody is rolling a particular number, eventually that number is going to come, and when it does, you're just going to see it. I mean, it's just going to come. So one of those numbers was the ace deuce. Wasn't showing up much initially, but when it started showing up, one guy, he rolled 4 ace deuces in a row. So I was able to catch that. I also missed playing the hot bets, which, I wasn't even thinking about, but they had hot bets as well. So I was watching, you know, those trends and following that energy as well. So a lot of things. So the 12s was coming a lot right after the 4s, easy 4s, hard 4s. I caught that on the hop a couple of times. I didn't catch a 12. Well, I did catch a 12 one time, but I'm catching the 4s on the hop. So because I would usually play the 12 after the 4, but if the 12 comes before the 4, then I know the 4 is following, so I hopped. Now I do have this strategy on the hot bets that if it doesn't come right after, play it 3 times, because it comes usually in 3 rows. And so I caught the 4s. I caught a hard 4 after the 12 and an easy 4 after the hard 4. The guy, he bucked the 4 for his point. So that was good. Made some money there. I also caught the ace deuce after the 6-4, and I've talked about that in a previous video, one of my hot bet videos. And I caught a yo, the ace deuce, and then the yo came. And what else did I catch? I caught a hard 10. So in my hot bet video, I talked about the 4-1, which is the 5. The hard 10 a lot of times comes after the 5. Aces, 12s, the high lows comes after the 5. But I caught a hard 10. So that's really how I got my money up. You know, you're playing a $10 table and it's a slow grind. So you really need a shooter at the table to really get your money up, because you want to be able to press and you want to be able to collect at the maximum. And there was maybe 1 or 2 shooters, including myself, at the table. I rolled for maybe about 30-35 minutes. That was my best roll. All of the other rolls, in my opinion, were crap. But that's how I got my money up. One guy got to 5 numbers for the fire. So 4 numbers pays $125 for a nickel, for $5. 5 numbers pays $12.50. So he needed the 5 for the 5th number, and I laid against it. I laid $150, I think, against it. It paid $100. So that's how I was able to get my money up too. So I did make some money playing the 5 and 9, but not as much as, you know, collecting on the hops. 150 a pop. So the hard 10, the hard 4 was 150 a piece. The easy 4 was 75, minus 5 was 70. The ace deuce was 75. And yeah, so I mean, and then I lost it all. I lost it all back because the table went cold. And I'm talking ice cold. Like, none of us could recover, you know, even new shooters, because you think that, okay, this guy's just walking up to the table, you know, he's going to change the energy. You know, the energy never changed. You know, it just went ice cold. I even tried moving to a different spot to shoot. Still nothing. So all in all, I lost my 166 plus my profit was about $700 I lost on the table last night. But I had a good time. And of course, you know, you ask yourself, like, should you walk away? Should I have walked away? And I probably should have walked away. The problem was, I walked in, I wanted to win $2,500. $500, $600 wasn't close. I figured, you know, that was just more money to play, so I stayed and played. Unfortunately, it didn't work in my favor, and I ended up losing it all. But sometimes you have to ask yourself, like, how much is it that you're trying to win? If you walk in with 100 and you're trying to flip it to 100, you flip it and you get out of there. If you if you have a $500 target, you go in, you make your 500 and you get out of there. My target was 2,500 and I didn't come close, so I stayed and played, and it just didn't work in my favor. So, but anyway, that's the update. So I'm going to show you on the table the strategy that I used. Let's take a look. right, guys. Well, that's it for me. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. And I'll see you on the next one.